The crystalline throne room of Draconis Prime gleamed with bioluminescent scales embedded in every surface, casting prismatic light across the assembled court. Oliver stood at the center, his simple human clothing a stark contrast to the magnificent beings surrounding him. Their forms shifted between humanoid and draconic, an ancient species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia before humanity had even discovered fire. "Absolutely not," declared King Vexthor, his voice resonating through the chamber like thunder through mountain peaks. His golden eyes, each the size of Oliver's head in his partially transformed state, fixed upon the human with a mixture of disbelief and disdain. "Our daughter is royalty. A human? This is preposterous." Queen Silmaria's silver scales rippled with agitation. "Ava, darling, please be reasonable. Humans live barely a century. You would watch them wither and die in what would feel like a heartbeat to you. They're fragile, primitive. They're survivors," Eva interrupted, her crimson scales gleaming as she stepped forward to stand beside Oliver. Her hand found his, and he felt the warmth of her touch, the barely contained power that could level cities if unleashed. "Mother, father, you haven't seen what I've seen." Oliver had met Eva 3 standard years ago on a frontier world where she'd been conducting diplomatic surveys. A collapsed mining tunnel. A rookie mistake by human engineers, they'd said later. But Oliver had been there, coordinating the rescue of 43 trapped workers, while toxic gases flooded the shafts in support. Beams groaned under impossible weight. "The dragons will come," someone had said, hope in their voice, but the dragons hadn't come. Too far away. Eva had been alone off duty, and by the time she'd received the distress signal, the authorities had already written the miners off as casualties. Protocol dictated waiting for proper equipment. Oliver hadn't waited. Eva had found him 3 levels deep, his mining exosuit's oxygen gauge flashing red, supporting a cracked support beam with his own back while using a plasma cutter to free the last trapped worker. His arms had been shaking from exhaustion, his breathing labored, but he hadn't stopped cutting. "Foolish human," she'd said then, taking the beam's weight with ease. "You'll get yourself killed." He'd looked at her with those strange, determined human eyes. "Not until they're all out." They'd gotten everyone out. Oliver had spent 2 weeks in a medical pod recovering from chemical burns and crushed vertebrae. Ava had visited every day, fascinated by this creature who would sacrifice himself for others, who pushed his fragile body beyond its limits, who refused to give up even when logic and reason said he should. "Your Majesties," Oliver spoke now, his voice steady despite facing beings who could incinerate him with a thought. "I understand your concerns. Humans are short-lived by your standards. We're not as strong, not as durable. We don't have scales that can deflect plasma fire or wings that can traverse atmospheres." King Vexthor's snout curled. "Then you understand why. But we endure," Oliver continued, and something in his tone made the ancient dragon pause. "We've survived ice ages and asteroid impacts, plagues and wars. We've clawed our way from caves to the stars without any natural advantages. We don't have your power, so we built tools. We don't have your lifespans, so we make every moment count. We don't have your magic, so we learn science. And when everything says we should quit, when the universe itself seems stacked against us, we look it in the eye and say, 'Not today.'" The throne room had gone silent. Even the courtiers, who had been murmuring disapprovingly, had stopped to listen. "Eva didn't fall in love with a human because I'm strong," Oliver said, squeezing her hand. "She fell in love because humans don't need to be strong to be brave. Because we know we're fragile and mortal, and we choose to be heroes anyway." Queen Silmaria's expression had softened slightly, but she shook her head. "Beautiful words, human. But words don't change reality. You'll age, you'll die, and our daughter will be left alone. "Then I'll make a request," Eva said, her voice carrying the authority of her royal lineage. "Grant me permission to share the eternal flame with him." Gasps rippled through the court. The eternal flame was sacred, the source of draconic immortality and power, shared only between bonded mates of pure dragon blood. To give it to an outsider, especially a human, was unprecedented. "Ava, you can't be serious," her father began. "I've already made my choice," Eva declared, and her scales blazed with inner fire. "Oliver taught me something that all our centuries of wisdom never did. He taught me that mortality isn't weakness. It's what gives life meaning. That fragility isn't a flaw. It's what makes courage real. If you won't accept him as he is, then I'll become something new with him. I claim him as my mate under the ancient laws. You cannot refuse." The ancient laws were absolute, dating back to when the dragons had first achieved sentience. A royal daughter's claim could not be denied by parent or council. King Vexthar and Queen Silmaria exchanged a long look, centuries of unspoken communication passing between them in seconds. Finally, the king's massive form settled, his scales dimming from aggressive gold to contemplative amber. "The human has spirit. I'll grant him that," Vexthar admitted grudgingly. "Very well. But know this, Oliver of Earth, you carry the honor of humanity now. Prove that your species deserves to stand among the stars. Prove that my daughter's faith is not misplaced." Oliver bowed deeply, respect and determination radiating from every line of his body. "Your Majesty, humanity has been proving that since we first looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. I'll spend every day of my life, however long or short, proving Eva right." As the court began preparations for the unprecedented bonding ceremony, Eva leaned close to Oliver, her breath warm against his ear. "You know they'll expect impossible things from you now." Oliver smiled, that peculiar human expression of defiance and hope. "Good. Impossible is what humans do best." And in that moment, watching this fragile creature stand unbowed before powers that could crack planets, Ava knew that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their determination. It was in their absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. The Dragon Princess had claimed her human, and the galaxy would never be the same. The end